Hey guys, it's Shari right here. So I'm making this video. It's pretty informal and kind of casual, just because this is a little bit about my story that you guys keep asking about, and wanted to share with you about my journey of how I became a coach and professional speaker. This isn't really something I talk about too often, but regularly after my speeches, people ask me about, like, how did you get in the business? How did you get started? And I thought the perfect place for me to tell that story is right here in Panera Bread, because I actually started my business right here in Panera Bread. Not this location, I'm in LA right now, but I originally kicked things off in Oklahoma City. And it was in a location just like this where I would sit every single day, sent out all of my emails. It's where I created my list. It's where I built my website. It's where I freaked out about if I was going to be able to pay the bills or not. It's where everything happened. And this was 10 years ago, so I was able to sit in Panera all day long before they initiated any sort of 30-minute internet access. Where the story began is actually, it begins in college. So some of you may or may not know this, but I went to school to be an actress. Shakespearean plays was my jam, but I realized that acting wasn't for me. Rewind a little bit. In college, I had a marketing professor who asked me to help him with his presentation skills. He was kind of a new professor, and he just felt like in this one class some of the content wasn't connecting, and he said, "You do that acting thing. Maybe you could teach me a few things." And so for that entire semester, I actually got college credit to teach my professor about presentation skills. And I did it mostly for fun, and it was the easiest class I ever took because I got credit to do it. But I didn't really pay attention to what he was telling me throughout the coaching, which was, oh my gosh, there's such a need for this. You're so good at this. Because I was still in the I'm an actress frame of mind. So I wasn't really letting what he was saying sink in. Fast forward a few years, I remembered those words that he said. He was like, there's such a need for this and you're really good at it. So my first tip to you is, if you're in any sort of journey whatsoever about what you're trying to figure out, what your gifts are, really pay attention to what people say your strengths are, because you may not value those strengths because they may come easier to you than they do other people. You may not really believe them. You may not feel like you're worthy of what that kind of praise. And so you might block out some really good feedback and really good information to help you figure out your path. And thankfully, I did remember those things that he said. And once I decided that I did want to start my own business as a coach, I remembered, like, oh, that presentation skills thing, that's something. So that's my first tip, is pay attention to what people tell you. Listen to what people say your strengths are. So then, as I would sit in Panera Bread all day long, I started to tell people that I am a presentation skills coach. Obviously, that's evolved over the years. I went from presentation skills to being a speechwriter for politicians and CEOs, to owning a marketing firm with a business partner, to being a persuasiveness coach and speaker for leaders and entrepreneurs. But when I first started, I told people I am a presentation skills coach. And even though I had no clients, I had no speeches, I spoke in the present. I am a presentation skills coach, rather than I'm working on becoming, or I'm starting to, or just any of those like future oriented types of phrases. Let people know, like, oh, you're just starting out, you're just figuring out. There's not as much confidence behind that, and so they're not very likely to hire you or refer you. So once you make the decision that I am this, then tell people I am this. And the reason why I'm so passionate about that is because that one action was what landed me my first client. I told family members, I told colleagues, I told friends, and lo and behold, somebody who I really respected reached out to me and said, I have a client who's really struggling in some presentations, and I think you could help him out. And so because I let the world know who I've decided that I am, then I got that referral, and I had a fantastic engagement with that client, really, really helped him out, which led to another client, and everything got started. So then the other thing that I really recommend is, if you are in, especially in the coaching consulting, if you're a personal trainer, if you're a nutritionist, dietitian, if you're any sort of services industry in particular, this does work for products, but definitely for services. If you're a lawyer, tax accountant, anything, is to go out into your community and speak. Find local organizations and associations who have their weekly or monthly, quarterly meetings and offer to be a guest speaker. So that's the other thing that kicked off was I went into Google and typed my current location and the word association and maybe also the word chapter, and then waited for Google to give me my target list of places that I was going to reach out to. So I looked at the list of all the different chapters of all these national associations to see, what types of associations kind of meshed with my message. And I reached out to the programming director, VP of programming, the president, VP of education, all of those titles. And I said, I have a program that I think your members will love. Here's the basics of it. Here's how to get in touch with me. Here's a little bit about me and my bio. And the first gig that I got was during a luncheon for the Financial Advisors Association, something like that. And I gave a free speech for about 30 minutes, and I think I did a horrible job, but thankfully they did not. And from that, I got more referrals to more speaking engagements. So when you start off, it's quite possible that your best marketing piece could be you speaking. So don't hesitate to speak for free at the beginning, because you need the practice. You probably need to hone in on your message, and that stage time builds so much confidence within you that you really start to own that message. And then, especially if you're good, and you know you're good when people come up to you afterwards and say, I want to hire you for this. Here's an organization I'd love for you to speak at. I want to hire you as a coach. That's when you know you've done a great job. The applause at the end is not your indication that you've done a good job. The applause at the end is the polite thing to do. But when people say that they want to engage you in future business, you've got a winner right there. And ever since then, me getting out and speaking has been one of the best marketing pieces. Obviously, I don't do it for fee waived nearly as much as I did at the beginning. But ever since then, I learned that, like, if it is the perfect audience and the perfect place, perfect time, then I will go out and rock out that gig, because I know it leads to future gigs, because I've been able to structure my presentations that way. So that's the basics of how I got started, was to listen to the feedback of what people told me my strengths were, to tell people who I am, who I've decided that I am, and be confident in sharing that with the world, and then reaching out to local organizations, because then that word of mouth starts to spread, and people know your face, they know your voice, they know your name, and then it doesn't just limit you locally. You can get gigs from that chapter will refer you to another state's chapter, or that chapter will refer you to the national association headquarters to speak at their conference or convention. Like, all of this has a spin-off potential. Of course, there are many other bits and pieces and processes along the way in online marketing, building my list, products, all of that stuff. But how I got started, those initial moments, that was it. Simple, easy peasy. So I hope you found this helpful. Of course, if you're interested in anything else along the lines of coaching, consulting, influential communications, marketing, entrepreneurship, then you should definitely subscribe to my channel, because more and more videos roll out. And then, of course, please check my website, which has even more awesome information on the blog, because I enjoy writing, and that's at Sharí-Alexander.com. And if you have any questions or any videos you'd like me to make, then write down a little comment below, and I will add it to my list. All right, talk to you soon, guys.